If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started now.
Welcome to the Money Vikings Podcast, where we conquer financial freedom. Join Greg, Jerry, and Bob as they discuss everything investing and personal finance. The Money Vikings Podcast is hosted by three dads who are doing what they can each day to burn down debt and build wealth. Learn the path to true wealth. Their podcast and website, moneyvikings.com, is a treasure trove of ideas. So without further ado, here they are, the Money Vikings.
How does 1,000% return sound? Yeah, pretty good. Join us as we dive into the world of OTC stock investing with Her Majesty, the Penny Queen. And happy birthday, America. Looking great for 245 years old. Welcome to the Money Vikings Podcast, number 42, everybody. Bob, Jerry, Penny, are you there?
Yeah.
Yes. Dude, I hope I look so good at 245 too. I'm just
I got my flag out a couple of days ago. I mean, you guys know I work for the military, so I'm like, I got my flag out. I'm just I've already had a hot dog, okay? I've already had a hot dog. My wife made me a hot dog today.
Nice.
Very nice.
Love it.
I think your chances of looking good at 245 go down with every hot dog, though.
Yes,
I gotta say.
yes, Penny. Very, very good point. Because we try to be healthy, but
even a good old American, just an American Frank, like no.
Well, we do. Hey, we do the organic. Does that help?
It doesn't count.
It cancels it right out. Yeah.
I added onion, garlic.
Oh, dude, totally good. Totally healthy.
All right. Hey guys, really exciting show today. Thank you all for joining us. We do have the Penny Queen here. Check her out on Twitter, and it's just great stuff. I think there's a lot of success here. Really excited about hearing, how you do these trades. Again, none of this is investing advice. This is just examples of what we all do. But I'm really excited to learn all this. But a couple of news items. We usually talk about a couple news items first. So I want to run this one by you guys. So did you know that Disney is this is kind of a 4th of July thing, but Disney is the second largest purchaser of explosives after the Department of Defense?
Did not know that.
Okay.
Wow. Wow.
We're big Disney shareholders here, okay? So you gotta keep up on this stuff.
Sometimes you have to dream upon a star, and every person needs to have a star in the sky.
There you go.
I thought they switched to the drones.
Oh, like a drone show. Yeah.
The HP ones.
When was the last time you guys were all at Disneyland? I frankly miss it. Jerry and I were there last time with our families years ago in a different world. Penny, have you been to Disneyland recently?
No, it's been at least 5 years, but I'm a little concerned now. If they switch to drones, I want to know what they're doing with all those explosives.
Can you just picture like madness, like kids like screaming and like drones flying and like exploding? I mean,
I can.
Yeah,
I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
For me, it's been like at least like 10 years. It's been forever.
Well, we got to get back. I can't wait to go check out Star Wars Land because I'm a big old geek. So I'm going. But okay, here's the next news item I wanted to mention to you guys. So I don't know if any of you guys are eyeing the Robin Hood IPO, but they came out with some numbers. And I know you're probably laughing at me like, what a fool. But they came out with some numbers. So 18 million users, pretty impressive. 80 billion in assets. It's going to trade under the ticker HOOD, kind of clever. Did report a quarterly loss. After a one-time accounting expense, they say. I think that was them being fined.
It's weird, yeah.
70 million, I thought.
So weird.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to figure out how soon until I can short it. That's really what I'm shooting for.
All right.
They're what was it? How much was it assets you said? 80 million?
80 billion.
80 billion. Oh, it's probably mostly Citadel for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry.
Penny, are you looking at this one? Do you ever do IPOs?
I don't like Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do
Yeah.
IPOs. I like IPOs, but I have certain requirements for companies I invest in, and they don't hit the mark.
No.
Yeah, it's just one of those like in the media things, and I've seen a lot. I think you're onto something because it seems like a lot of these don't pan out really well. I had the same vibe about Uber. I was kind of like, it was a lot of hype, and I was like, I don't know. I don't think that's, but we'll see. Who knows?
I could be. I mean, the thing is, I would probably see it as probably one of the biggest pump and dump IPOs of time. Just based off of my perception of like the sentiment behind it, like how everybody that we mention in these Discord channels, like they just talk about how they despise Robin Hood from what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, it could be one of the biggest pump and dumps.
Well, good way to play it, guys. We shall see. So, hey, we got a special guest today. So, Penny Queen, Penny, welcome. Let's dive into it. I guess the first thing we want to know is just, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in this form of trading and investing and money making? Like, at one point were you like, hey, I'm gonna, kind of in a way ditch the traditional things that they tell us, like, get your job and put your 5% in and get your match and never look at it. And was there a point where you thought, heck, I'm going to try a new path?
I've never been really good at following rules. So, I mean, if you give me a list of things I should do in investing, I'm going to investigate them all and figure out what actually works for me. I mean, I think anybody that spends a lot of time investing realizes that there are many paths. You can be an expert in one, but you can't be an expert in all of them. So you need to find what you're passionate about. And for me, it's disruptive technology. So I ended up selling a business that I had on the side, and I had cash sitting in my bank account, just sitting there taunting me. And I realized it was. I mean, it wasn't burning a hole in my pocket. That was good. But I knew that it was an opportunity that I needed to capitalize on. Yeah. And I spent a little bit of time just putting it off. And then it was actually not this March, but March of 2020. I decided it was time to start investing. And I, cruised around Reddit a little bit and, fell down many rabbit holes. And I ended up finding Microvision, which had a huge amount of, research done on it. There, the DD for Microvision is really thick. And I went through that and did something that I would not recommend anyone do. And I went all in. But I had complete faith in it at that point. So that was about June. Before then, I'd started playing around with options, and all the companies that I was attracted to were always disruptive technology, because it's something that you can research and understand and get an idea of, the current market and the future market. Yeah. And, Microvision's it was probably one of 2020's biggest success stories as far as, OTC or penny stocks go. I mean, I think I got in at 74 cents. I think the low was maybe 20, and the highest it's been since then is $28. So huge improvement.
Wow.
But I also realized that you should not keep all your eggs in one basket. And I started to diversify. And so I've been out there looking for, disruptive technology, and it's been a fun ride so far, and it's working out. So
yeah,
wow,
Penny,
that is phenomenal.
Penny has done this phenomenal job, and cover your ears. I don't want your head to get too big here, but she really has done a phenomenal job at finding a lot of these kind of diamond in the rough stocks, and they're OTCs, and she just the way you approach it, Penny, is very I don't know how to explain it. I have such a deep respect and appreciation for what you do, because you don't just dive at something because at first glance it looks good. You will mention to the group that, like, hey, I'm looking at this, and that's where you leave it, and everybody kind of knows the method to your madness in your process. But Penny does these deep dive like write-ups and analysis of these stocks before she's really making that commitment.
It's interesting. It's reminding me a lot of, you guys know, the guys are going to make fun of me, but it's reminding me a lot of ARK, because I've been a big ARK investor and fan for many years. But your process there of finding disruptive tech and then doing a lot of due diligence into it, and then being able to see, I guess, into the future how that's going to play out. It reminds me a lot of ARK, and the guys know I like to talk about ARK.
Kathy in particular.
Yeah, right.
I am a really big fan of Kathy, maybe a bigger fan than I should be.
Oh, yes. I have another person on the show.
Yeah, looking at the year end for 2020, looking at all the ARK ETFs and seeing how well they did, and I think the ARK innovation may have hit 170%. So within my Discord, there is a channel that is, we call it the PQTF. One of my mods said I probably couldn't use the word ETF. So, and it's a link that stays live so that everybody can see what I'm invested in. And it has the beginning of my investment date, and it keeps a running tally of my percentage. And that for me, ARK has been my best comparison. Now they've had a horrible year so far, but I like to compare my year to their 2020, and that's what I set my goals off of.
Yeah.
Wow. So what is that? So could people, is that kind of a closed group that you're talking about, where people sort of engage and watch your trades, or is that?
Not a bit. Everything I do is completely transparent, open and free. And I have this feeling about anybody who wants to give you advice, not financial advice, of course, but about what to do with your money. If they're asking for your money, I feel like they're maybe not good enough at what they're doing.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a big point for me that all of the information that I put together be free and available, and that, I have a Discord set up, and I also have a subreddit that's used to a lesser extent, but those are communities where people can actually talk about these companies. They're continuing to do research because, research is never done on a company. As long as your money is there, or you're thinking about putting your money there, you need to know what's happening.
Yeah. And
so, now I've got 2,300 of my closest friends working on all these companies right alongside me. And it's a benefit for them. It's a benefit for me. People send me companies to look into, and it's worked out very well. But inside the Discord is a link that always stays live, so anybody can look and see what it is I'm buying.
You really that what you just said is like so resonates, I think, with me, because over the years we are in this new world now of kind of all communicating, and I've been investing long enough, it's about 20 years, that I can remember a time when it was you were in the dark, and so what you're talking about, it really resonates now, because we can all kind of, like you said, put our heads together, do our due diligence together. We get it with Brian over at Gator Traders. You're doing it, we're doing it, etc. And I think it really is an exciting time for retail investors. Now people need to understand risk and educate themselves, right? Because I don't know if I would have the guts to do what you did in March of 2020. I wish I did.
I mean,
I tend to take 5 to 10% of assets and make those kind of bets, right, and make some money. But that's amazing.
But that's also the kind of thing that an educated investor does. And when I started, I wasn't. I'm gaining knowledge every week, but the rules that I've set up, I'm not very risk averse. I'm the first one to say that, I'll typically keep 4 or 5 stocks running all the time. And if one of them were to completely fail, I'd be okay. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I don't believe anybody should be investing money that they need to survive. Mm-hmm. So as long as it's money that if it disappeared tomorrow, you'd be fine. then what you do with it is up to you. But if it's going to make you cry, you shouldn't be doing it.
Well, this is what we talk about,
Yeah,
right? I mean, we talk about
great.
it's you gotta be okay with when you're in the market like this and this type of investing. You have to be okay with losing that money tomorrow if that happened, because it could happen. It is in a way that that's what they call it, the global casino, for a reason, and I think people need to understand that. But what you mentioned, Penny, kind of goes back to something that we've talked about before, where it is this new reality and in the market of having these social groups where people can work off of. Because furthermore, Greg, I mean, back in the day, you had to have a subscription to the Wall Street Journal, get the newspaper. You had to go to your local brokerage and talk to them to get information, or your investment, or Vanguard.
Well, and they didn't always have your best interest, Bob.
Right.
I think back to
My
our
fiduciary,
grandfather,
yeah.
and grandfather had to do a lot of digging around to find information on investments, and he relied on advisors that at times were and were not, I believe, working in his best interest. So it's just that really blew my mind what Penny said about the current kind of environment we're in, and it's, I mean, I'm finding it exciting and really great. So hopefully, again, it's the idea is to help each other out. Nobody, one of the reasons we do our blog and the podcast is because I think for a lot of us, and you kind of hit on it, Penny, no one taught us any of this stuff in school, and it's so important. I really hope we can teach our children these skills, because just there's no education. I go through college, and not once did somebody talk about an equity versus a bond versus risk versus compounding interest. I kind of, if you're lucky, you start to figure that stuff out, right, as you're adulting.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I think that there is a basic lack of financial understanding just throughout the country. It's one way that we tend to stratify the nation. I mean, you look at even rules in investing. You need to have $25,000 to be able to day trade. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
To keep the little guys out.
That's exactly it. And it's one more reason that I think that this information needs to be free and available, and it needs to be a community of people working together with a common goal of having better lives and more control and freedom.
Yeah.
Man, okay, 4th of July show, guys. Where are the fireworks? I mean,
Disney got 'em all.
That's
Seriously,
it right there,
Disney.
Penny. No, I love it. So I guess one of our other questions we wanted to ask you is what is your, if you could describe generally, what is your process for finding your next investing idea or trade? Are you scouring certain sites? Are you hearing from community input and then starting to do your due diligence? Are you looking sort of at dozens at a time and then you hone in on one or two? Is there kind of a general?
It's an ongoing process. I get a lot of tips from Discord and Reddit, even StockTwits and Twitter. I have people message me about companies that they think I'd be interested in. And apparently my tastes are well known at this point, because I mostly get companies that actually do appeal to me. And by that, I'm looking for disruptive technology almost exclusively in the clean tech or ESG realm. And they need to be catalyst rich, high growth companies.
Gotcha.
And I use what I call the mom test. I need to, is this company going to make the world better for my daughters?
Yeah.
Can I be proud of this investment? And will it provide a good return for my family? I mean, that's my simple test. It gets a little hard sometimes. I look at companies and sometimes I dig into them and then I find something that makes it absolutely not acceptable. It hits almost everything else.
Yeah.
And I have my daughters, they're 8 and 10, and they read all of my DD. My 8-year-old doesn't understand a lot of the words.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
She's getting, it's becoming more clear in her mind, but my 10-year-old is right on it and is, read through some and told me why she didn't like a company.
That is
wow.
cool.
That's interesting.
Bobby and I have 8-year-olds too, so we're in that. We know that world of.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
And then
I didn't even know that. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, my 10-year-old has a paper trading account, and she's up about 34% this year.
Wow.
But the rule I gave her is she's not allowed to invest in anything I'm investing in because that's cheating.
Yeah.
And she told me that I was taking all the good companies, so that I'm cheating. But we'll work that out later.
That is
wow. This is great. You got me into Cielo, by the way. You and Bob got me into Cielo. I've been doing my DD on Cielo, so
yeah.
Or is that how you say it? Cielo.
Cielo.
Yeah. That's fascinating because I am highly concerned with the trash issues. I mean, I've read for years about. I actually do. So I do real estate work in my day job, but it's a lot of big development type stuff. Like I'm doing like an energy project soon. So I'm kind of like working in that world in my day job as well. So I found that one really interesting. So I'm just so excited to see, what you keep coming up with. So
yeah, I gotta say, Penny, like that is I learned something new about you, and it's brilliant, and I love that. And I didn't even think about stuff like that before with my kids. Well, our two youngest won't be able to do that, but with my 8-year-old, God, that's brilliant, and I want to start doing that.
I like to ask my oldest, the 15-year-old, be 15 pretty soon. What he's into, because I gave him my old Robin Hood account. And just let him said, here, you can buy some fractional shares, have some fun, do some things, learn some things about investing with some guidance, of course.
Right.
But I'm always asking him, like, what are you looking at? Like what video? He spends so much on video games and add-ons. So I'm like, well, that got me into video game ETF because I saw like how much him and my other kids are spending on add-on packs and whatnot and skins and everything. Lately, he is really excited about Starlink, which hasn't IPO'd yet, but he's excited about that. And then he's big into shoes right now. So, Nike, and I was like, I just lost a lot of money on Nike. They did too well.
Well, he can keep the shoes, but I'll arm wrestle him for those Starlink shares.
Right. Are you guys talking about Starlink, the Tesla or the Elon Musk thing?
Yeah.
Is that its own? Are you guys saying that is IPOing?
He's hinting at it, and the thing is, it's the. I think everybody's frothing to get a piece of that because, from what I understand, and if you guys understand differently, I thought I read something about how there are people who have access for private investment, but it's funneled through ETFs, and there's only a few like hedge funds or whatnot that actually get direct access to private shares.
Well, does the ARK Space ETF have it? Because that's one I've been loading up on. But okay,
I don't believe it does, and they're fully transparent, so we can.
Oh, that's right. Because you would see if they did. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
are they transparent on private investment or no?
Yes, they're fully transparent.
You can see Penny's right. I watch their trades. I mean, I don't look every day anymore, but yeah, she's right. There's a site where you can see their daily trades out of all the ARK funds. I mean, I had heard too at one point, and I held on to some. I was pretty early into Tesla, and then I held on to some shares after I took some profits because I had heard some rumor that if you were a Tesla shareholder, you might get early access to SpaceX and to what you're saying is the Starlink. But I don't know. So there you go. That's another, I mean, crazy opportunity, right? So
and also I think the point of all of this is that kids kind of have they sort of have these sensors and can kind of tell what's cool and what's changing in the world that we may not see. So I make a point to ask my kids all the time, like, what are you playing with? What are you looking at? What are you buying? What's cool?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're doing that because I am totally out of it, and I'm constantly asking my wife, like, if we're having some discussion and I don't understand something about the world, and I literally look at her and go, "Am I just getting too old? And I don't feel old. I feel really happy and healthy and everything, but I'm like, am I just getting too old? I don't
what is this Twitcher thing?
Oh, come on! I mean, I'm not that bad.
What is this?
If you have to ask if you're getting too old, the answer is probably yes.
Probably yes. Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, we have we have 8-year-old daughters, so like, there's this whole that's a whole world where my wife looks at me like, hey, just move on, Greg. Don't ask, and I'm like, I got it,
But I want to know, what is a bae? Are you my bae? Like, I want to know what that is. I
don't know.
Curious.
I'm not cool, guys. I never really was cool, but I'm not cool. So.
You were
Anyway.
the coolest.
What else we got, Jerry?
So yeah, another question. I mean, I know you kind of answered this with you're looking at ESG type disruptive, really exciting, catalysts. But do you focus only on penny stocks, or if someone recommended, hey, check out Apple right now, or just something that completely in a different realm, are you open to that?
I am. I mean, as far as investing in general, I do have some real estate assets, and I'm involved in some private equity deals. And I do have a habit of buying and flipping businesses. But as far as on the stock front, I day trade. I love options, but penny stocks are my true passion.
Okay.
And it's one area that I think you can really use those non-technical skills to have a great chance at success.
Yeah.
The movement can be astronomical. And, I was looking back at my 2020 trades, and I bought TSNP at like 0.013 cents, and I held that to $1.72.
Wow.
So, and I had that in my what I call dirty pennies. That it was in my dirty penny category where, I don't think there's a lot of value in a company until they've proven it. Sometimes companies end up proving me wrong, but penny stocks in general have a bad rap. So I divide them into the quality companies that just shouldn't be penny stocks, and then the dirty pennies that typically have really high share counts, bad management, and normally a history of toxic financing. But so if you can sort through that and kind of decide, is this something that I can trade on sentiment and, the actual technical analysis, or is this something that has actual value that needs to be discovered and shared? So I'm all over the place, but my sweet spot is pennies.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Again, what you said blows my mind, because I'll be honest. So Bob has definitely brought me around, and I am a convert. But when Bob started bringing up the penny stocks months and months and months ago, maybe, almost, actually, it's been like, I'm losing track of time during this pandemic. But anyway, it's probably over a year ago.
It's just you getting old.
Yeah, probably. But anyway, I at first I was like, I've been very old school, right? I've been like, Papa Buffett, Mungie Pants, buy yourself some Berkshire, get yourself some growth index funds. But Bob is, and you now, especially, like, you guys are really like bringing me around, and I'm excited about diving more into. That's right, I am excited about Cielo and diving more into these penny stocks. So was there a path in terms of? I understand, you sold a business, you had some capital, right? But most people would probably have taken that capital and put it in the Vanguard. The VOO. I mean, or
SPY.
I mean, I'm fascinated by the fact that you were like, hey, I've got this somewhat significant capital, and I'm going to, and somehow from there you develop a passion and actually a real skill, it looks like, for the penny stocks. I mean, I'm just amazed that happened.
How did you get to the penny stock? I mean, what drove you to that?
Well, when it was first investing in Microvision, that was first considered this. First, it was a penny stock, right. And now that it's achieved, a decent share price, now it gets to be a meme stock.
Graduates.
So, I started looking at what penny stocks really are, and there's a lot of talk on all the regular investment channels about how dangerous they were.
Yeah.
But I started looking, and Microsoft started out at 9 cents in 1986. Apple started out at 11 cents in 1981. So now that there's SPACs and these overhyped IPOs, I think a lot of companies are skipping the prove your worth step. And that's what penny stocks are to me. They are an opportunity for a company to prove their worth and grow, or alternately to prove that they are not worth investing in. That's why, it's the buyer beware. But with a little bit of research, or in my opinion, a lot of bit of research, you can figure it out and have these really great gains.
Well,
so
educated investing. Right?
Yeah.
That is awesome. No, that is really awesome. I feel, and I'm not able to articulate how. I'm just in my mind. I feel like this stuff is all connected to the kind of zeitgeist out there, where you do have, retail investors. We are working together. We're sharing information on all of these platforms in ways that are totally. This is frankly totally new. I mean, it really was. The Wall Street industrial complex. Pulled all the strings, right, for many, many years. And it feels like a few of those strings are kind of getting snipped, and people are like, no, we can think, we can do research, we can dive into these things, we can move aside, what you're calling the dirty pen, the crappy ones, and we can find some of the opportunities in there. And yes, it's risky. All investing has risk, right? I mean, if you don't want, sitting on cash has risk. Okay.
Right.
But
it's taking
really
people, it's taking skill sets, right? Because I think a lot of us have different skill sets, and it's when you collectively bring those people together to brainstorm, and it's kind of like you each get your task and you do it, and you bring the information together. You really can develop that team, right? And it's like you can lean on people. Like when we do this stuff like DD, a lot of times I can find the needle in the haystack of information to share, and then the pieces of the puzzle start to come together, and then you actually start identifying the winner or the loser, or where something's going. So
I hear you, Bob, and I'm really hoping that this speaks to actually a lot of. Because you and Jerry have been more cutting edge, more tech oriented than me, and I hope that this speaks really loudly to the folks like me, where they might be more traditional. But I guess I'm coming around to this thought of, I don't really probably have the guts to take a huge amount of capital and go for it, but why not take a few and put 10 grand here, 20 grand there, and give it a shot. See what comes of it. Or whatever that amount is for a person based on their risk tolerance and their portfolio. So that's great.
That
question.
That for me brings up a really good point when you're saying what it is for that person based on their on their own risk or on the size of their portfolio. That's why one reason I try and keep to percentages in my Discord and in all of my conversations on social media with people. They'll ask me, how many shares do you have of this? Well, one, it doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter.
Let me tell you what percentage of my portfolio is in there. And you can make whatever decision you want to make on your own, but that's better information.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that. And we have one of our popular blog posts is I basically have my portfolio allocation on there. We call it the Ride My Bike portfolio, because the concept is it's set up for me just enjoying life most of the time, and then I can look at it when I want to and do these different interesting trades. But anyway, it's based on percentages, like you're saying, because you're absolutely right. It's all individual. So that's great.
But it's also taking the percentage stuff further is it's not about also the dollar amount, right? And especially when you talk about growth, making money, it's always about the percentages. And I've reiterated this time and time again with people is it's when you're making profit. And let me step back, because I know, Penny, you talk about like the value of a company, right? I'm talking about this from like the capitalistic standpoint. Profitability is that if I'm trying to make money, I'm looking at it from the percentages. And so if we do talk about individuals starting with not much money at all, think about the compounding of percentages that you're gaining. So if a stock is moving up 10% a day, right, or whatnot, think about that compounding. And that's how you got to play the game. Instead of, okay, this is Tesla and it is $600 a share right now, or this is Apple and it's somewhat $100 a share. Don't look at that, because typically, it's all based off the percentage movements. And that's, again, to your point of the penny stocks, is the drastic moves, these percentages. And people don't realize, getting to that financial freedom, getting to that financial independence, play the game properly, and go into that realm of the penny stocks, and you can make some good money.
What is a penny stock? Just by definition, is it? I've heard a few, and one is just less than $10, or is it really something less than $1?
I've heard less than $5.
$5.
Less than $5. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Although, there are a lot of sub penny stocks out there. There are stocks out there that have 1, 2, or even 3 zeros in front of them, and those are more often than not dirty pennies in my world. But every once in a while, there's a gem out there. But again, that percentage wise, the kind of growth that you can see is incredible. And as long as it's money you don't need for life, you can have someone who's starting out with a lot less money being able to make these educated choices and catch up.
Yeah.
That is great. I also really like how you combine it with with investments that you believe in. I try as much as I can to do that as well, and that's really interesting. That's one of the things that got me into like ARC genomics and stuff like that, because I'm fascinated by all these technologies that can really save people's lives that have diseases that they had no choice in, and that kind of stuff. Now, again, you got to make sure that these things are profitable and good businesses to invest in. But I just think that's a neat combo. So. Yeah.
When you're looking at stocks, and you've talked a lot about how you do due diligence, and that to me kind of sounds like a fundamental type analysis. What's the revenue? What's the future cash flow? What's the debt? All that type of stuff. Are you looking at, is your due diligence from that fundamental perspective, or is it more technical analysis and looking at pitchforks and MACDs and any of the other sort of moving average indicators, or is it a combination of both?
It is almost entirely fundamental on my end. But before I publish anything, I check with my friends that know the technical analysis side to make sure that I'm not missing something.
Gotcha.
Because both aspects are critical. And there's, this is the side that I really understand. So that's where I'm going to dig in, and I'm going to come up with every risk possible and all of the growth potential. But if I need to know that, we're sitting on support and it doesn't look good, I need to know that before I mention it to
just had a death cross or something.
So, but basically, if it passes my mom test, then I'm going to do a couple hours of basic research, and if it still looks promising, I'll set up an interview with the company executives. And I don't really care who I talk to, as long as it's C-level. And I review about 30 or 40 companies for everyone that makes my little Penny Queen traded fund. And I probably interview about 10 companies for everyone I choose. So
wow,
that
is great research.
And guys, we are talking about her actually calling people up and interviewing. So
I'm understanding. The other thing too is that I'm very familiar with the mom test, because everything in my household passes something called the mom test. You guys are aware of that. That's about every decision made, which is a good thing. That's a very good due diligence to go through.
Yes.
Right. It is a good test. And, I won't write research on a company that won't sit for an interview with me either, because I want to get a good feel for the management team. And if they don't have time for me, they don't have time for my money. So,
wow, there you go. Jerry,
do you look at all at sentiment too? I think you mentioned that earlier in the podcast, but I was just curious, how important does sentiment play in addition to fundamentals and technicals?
Sentiment and momentum are only important to me on something that I am trading, just to capture, essentially day trades and not a company that I'm going to commit to. If it makes it into my PQTF, it's because I'm committed to that company. And if 99% of the world thinks it's a bad deal, that means I'm getting a really good buy-in price.
Okay.
And that information can come out. And I mean, that's part of this is I think when you find a good company, right, we vote with our dollars, and they need advocates. And there are so many companies that you can look at over the past year and a half now, since since we really had the retail investor uprising. And there's a lot of companies that you can see, even if they get labeled a meme stock, it's because you had investors that said, wait, that's not right. This is being forced down for reasons that aren't correct. The price should be higher. We're going to make it higher.
Yeah.
So, banding together a bunch of people when sentiment's low is ideal. I mean, that's the peak time. Peak's probably the wrong word. That is the best time to hop in and get those gains. So
and back to something comment made before is like the other thing with these OTC stocks, these penny stocks, is that years past nobody would have known about them, and if they really did have something disruptive or groundbreaking, they would have just been acquired and they would have just disappeared. And I think with this new era of retail investor, where you can actually get people to throw money and buy into them, they actually have a chance of being their own independent company and not getting sucked into the vortex of the larger, top tier companies. So I think it's not only helping the retail investor, but it's also helping the little man business actually make something for themselves and become something of note.
That I am right there with you on that. I mean, if you take CLO, this is currently my favorite penny stock, and it won't be a penny stock for long. But CLO Waste Solutions, they take anything other than rock, glass, or metal and turn it into renewable fuels.
Even contaminated plastic. That's the other big thing. That's crazy. It's contaminated.
It's amazing.
It's still clean in a clean fashion.
Turn it into biodiesel. They solved the sulfur problem.
Yeah.
Right? They solved the sulfur problem.
Well,
they should be announcing the results pretty soon here. Our non-scientific poll in my Discord, everybody thought around July 7th that they'd be coming out with it, but it doesn't really matter. It's a huge catalyst if they come out and say, our sulfur content is below 15 parts per million. But either way, they did it before at a bench scale test, and there are off-the-shelf solutions they can use. They just cost more. Yeah. So, but the big thing is, it's trading under $1. I've got a $40 5-year price target on it. But this is the kind of company that without the retail investors, cheerleading it, it's a kind of company that would be bought out by a major oil company and the technology would be suppressed.
Oh, wow. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So, we're in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution. And right alongside that, it's that communication. You've got decentralized finance popping up at the same time. And I think this is a completely different revolution that we're seeing. And we're at this, this pivotal point right now. And I'm so happy to be in the position I am at this point. I'm actually glad I didn't start investing 10 years ago.
Gosh, this is fascinating.
Yeah, there's so much I want to unpack there. One thing that's lingering, just have you talked to CLO's management? You interviewed them and talked with them?
I would not be saying their name if I hadn't.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've got a long list of secret companies that passed the test that didn't want to talk to me about it. But no, I've talked to them several times, and they're actually very receptive. Yeah. So we have a Q&A section for each company in my Discord. Every supported company, I guess you can say, either we're doing research on it or it's already been published. And people continue to add questions for investor relations, and some of the companies come check it on their own and just reply on their own, and other companies we have to send it in. But if they're willing to communicate with us and work with the people who in reality are paying their bills, they're a good fit.
That says a lot.
That's awesome.
That says a lot.
Cool. Penny, how do you start that conversation when you call to do the interview and talk with them? How are you presenting yourself for that conversation to start?
I normally send an email, And
Okay.
I just introduced myself and I let them know that, I research companies that I am long in, and I'd like to talk to them and ask some questions. And I attach some of my older research.
Yeah.
So a smart executive would take a look at my research, and then they take a look at the share price and see when I published and see what happened. And they would realize that getting attention, volume's helpful. And my goal is to attract attention to companies that deserve it.
Yeah.
And
Penny, you definitely have enough people that are following you, that are in your Discord, that have, to put this clearly, like enough money that they're willing to throw at something that could make a difference in a company kind of going up a little bit in price.
Yeah, we definitely do collectively. I think we have, from my anonymous surveys that I send out, I think we have like 24 million shares of CLO at this point. I don't know how many people didn't take the survey.
Yeah.
So with that comes a lot of responsibility, though, because some of these companies have a pretty small float, and I need to be careful not to, it's never my intention to pump a stock. So I want to make sure that people are happy with it, that they consider their own buy-in price, and that they don't chase it.
Right.
Yeah.
Figure out what it's worth, and don't pay more than that, because you're going to be unhappy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of this is just taking me back to this concept. We in so many ways, and we talk about a lot of this in different topics on the show, but we seem to be in this kind of great age of decentralization. It like you said, you wouldn't be doing this 10 years ago, and you're right. I don't think that it would have been possible. For us as retail investors to have this kind of access and communication that we can all have now. So this is just giving me more and more ideas for future discussions, because there's so much here, and I think Jerry said it. There's so much to unpack that we can't unpack in one show. So we're gonna have you back, Penny.
All right.
Yeah,
we have like a monthly Penny, just a monthly.
Yeah, right.
Penny's corner.
Sure. Yeah.
Monthly Penny.
Yeah. Hey, what other which other stocks and companies are you excited about at the moment?
Let's see. The most recent adds to my Penny Queen traded fund are Newlox Gold, Aurora Solar Tech, and Quantum Emotion. So it's kind of, it's really spread apart. Newlox Gold, they have some amazing technologies and some really high quality social agendas with they're not mining for gold. They're taking old tailings, processing them, taking the mercury out. So they're leaving the earth better.
Wow.
They know right where the gold is. They don't have to go exploring for it. Aurora Solar Tech, it's a great company. They don't manufacture solar panels. That's a really low margin area to be in, but they have a QA system that they're still in beta tests with, that the results look good so far, where they're really increasing the margins for solar panel manufacturers. And I think they're going to end up in a subscription model, which I love.
Yeah,
then,
recurring.
Yeah. That's
wow.
That's a beautiful sound right there.
I want to do a deeper dive at some point on that Newlox Gold. In my work I've done in real estate and in land acquisitions, I've seen the messes from old gold mines firsthand. So that's intriguing that they could take those tailings and extract from there, and then I guess at the same time clean the environment up a little bit, is what it sounds like.
Not only that, I mean, they're cleaning the environment, but they're also making the lives of the miners better, because they're avoiding having to actually do the processing themselves. They're either paying them for the tailings, or they're doing a partner mining project where they split the profit 50-50. And the artisanal miners can only get about 40% of the gold out, where they're getting about 90%. And they're also developing some other great technologies to make mining cleaner that they're giving away for free. And then they're doing another, it's called Aqua Regia, which is a anhydrous mining solution. So they're using these solvents that are basically clean and allowing people to mine without using water, so you don't have to deal with the effluent. And that's still in the R&D phase, but that's probably something that they'll be able to license. And this is one of the most exciting companies for me. My only misgiving on it is that it's got 100 million share float. So that's not a lot. It's hard to balance. You don't want it to get out of whack. It can happen easily when 20,000 people find out about it. So don't tell anyone.
Don't tell anybody. So our 10 listeners aren't gonna. So, but here's the thing is but that changes though, right? I mean, because as this company evolves and actually starts to show their worth, their value, and actually demonstrate what they can do, that changes. The float will expand and grow, and then we expect the growing pains to occur as that occurs. So
yes and no.
Yeah.
So when a company is making enough money off their operations that they don't need to dilute further, you might just be stuck with that low float. I mean, fully diluted, I think they're about 190 million shares, but even with the stock price going up, it doesn't look like any of those shares are being shook loose, which tells me that those investors have a lot of faith, which tells me I'm on the right track. So,
but then would that, to you, say it's a failure of management to recognize what they have to do to kind of expand that, to take it to the next level, to make that tough decision? Right.
Well, there isn't always a need to dilute. Right. I mean, if you're flush with cash and it's enough to pay for your expansion, then, there's always the administrative burden of rapid expansion. But outside of that, I don't see any real reason. Their current expansion plans, they can certainly handle. I think they could actually double their expansion plans with the revenue that they'll be receiving. And, they're hoping to become a dividend-paying gold stock, which I'm a fan.
And that wouldn't require dilution, but then that would increase value.
Yes, which
would in turn raise price. Okay, gotcha. With you, picking up what you're putting down.
Wow, guys, we probably have a time for a couple more questions. I think we have about 1 million more questions for you. But, we do have
speed drop.
We try to keep the shows.
All right, I got two quick ones. Lightning round.
No, I'm not. I'm kidding. No lightning round. Let's have another show. Let's take some time here.
No, just curious. I mean, you mentioned decentralized finance. I just wanted to know, are you at all involved with cryptocurrencies in any way?
I have some cryptocurrencies. I've got some ADA and Matic, but only because I opened up a couple crypto channels on my Discord, and there's a lot of really good work going on in there, and I kind of want to respect their efforts. And I realized that, maybe I'm too old. I'm 41. Maybe I'm too old for crypto.
Come on now. I'm older and I'm doing crypto.
I've listened to a lot of audiobooks on it, and I understand the concepts, but I do want to stay, I want to master this art and then spread out into other nearby concepts. So
right.
Real estate investment.
We're always looking, and that's a good point. We're and Jerry's really good about this, but we're a lot of times looking for things that are uncorrelated, right? So that we can build, so we can manage risk. And so that's been a lot of our actual focus on crypto. Well, it's an exciting space, of course, because of the technology. But as an investment, we keep trying to look for ways to be uncorrelated to the SPY or whatnot. I don't know if that's always working out with crypto, but
time will tell.
Time will tell. Time will certainly tell. So, okay, I think Jerry, you got another one.
I got one more. Yeah, just what are you still actively doing anything in options, and what sort of trades are you doing? Like, how do you decide if you want to go into an options trade on a underlying that you're looking at versus just buying the shares outright?
Well, I like to think of options in one or two ways. I love leaps, but I think of options as either layaway. I really want this company, but I'm busy buying all these OTC stocks that don't have options. So I'm going to put it off. So I'm going to buy it here. And the other way I think about it is just expanding your footprint.
Yeah.
I think, let's see, in November, I still had a lot of Microvision shares. They were trading about $2. I think they were $2.05, and I spent $1.05 and bought a lot of $1 calls. So I managed to half my cost on the shares I had.
Yeah.
And so I'm always looking for opportunities like that. I will say that options are where I make the majority of my mistakes, where I take commission.
You sound like me. So these guys, I do not do the options as much as these guys do. So
I mean, the returns are incredible. But my biggest loss of all time was accidentally putting in a sell to open order on 100 leap calls.
Whoa.
And so I meant to buy the options, and I put in really low bids, which filled more often than you would think. Yeah. So not only did I put in a really low bid to buy, I was actually selling it. So they filled immediately. I had to buy them back at the regular price, which was, I think it was about $18,000, which was a lot. It was a lot to me right then. But the real loss is that it kept me from buying those options because I blew the money. And the ones that I did buy are up like 1,300%. So every time I look at that, I think, that's 10,000 shares that I'll never have because I was buying options on my cell phone while parenting.
Oh yeah,
that is,
right.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Oh, we all know what
that
that's
one.
like.
We know what that's about.
Yeah, especially Bob's
Get away
wife.
from that.
Especially Bob's wife. That's right.
Oh yeah.
Well,
by the way, she is a huge fan of you, by the way, Penny. So my wife is in love. So
Penny, this has been an absolute pleasure. So cannot thank you enough for coming on the show. This is a gold mine of information. We were not exaggerating when we said Her Majesty the Penny Queen. No, this is really great. Like, we really appreciate your time and support, and I think everyone's going to get a lot out of this. And I'm just looking forward to the future, and hopefully we can have you on again sometime.
Well, perfect. I'm around, stuck here at my computer.
Glued to it.
Well, you have a great 4th of July, and we'll see you in cyberspace, and hopefully we'll have you on again soon.
Thank you. You guys as well.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
We are not financial professionals, and this podcast is designed for entertainment purposes only. We are regular folks who do research and present opinions to an audience in a fun way. Our opinions should not be construed with the views of any organizations we may be affiliated with. This podcast does not represent the thoughts, intentions, plans, strategies of our employers. It only represents the opinions of the authors. If you need specific guidance on your own financial situation, please consult a financial fiduciary professional.